Welcome back to my channel. I am Mrs. Janelle Manaring, Roaring Lotus. Remember, unburdening yourself is the roaring part, and the goal is to float in peace. So roar until your lotus flows in peace. Assignment 10, I promised you a read through of that. I summarize my journey. If there's anything that you find inspiring, then great. I have achieved my objective. If there's anything that you'd like for me to unpack further, please don't hesitate to leave it in my comments. This is the platform for us to do that. We vent, we unburden ourselves, and we inspire, and hopefully you'll also find your purpose in life. Okay, assignment 10, here we go. It is important to emerge from the depths of suffering, to love and respect yourself, to embark on a life journey where restoring your will to live is the key objective. Everyone needs something or someone to hold on to while wading through the rough and muddy waters. For me, it was Mother, always teaching me the Bible and the promised land of paradise from God. That is the only place where there will be no more suffering, death, and pain. That's what should always ensure me and say about the promised land being paradise, that God is going to bring it back to earth any moment now. And then she would leave, going back to her varsity studies far away from home, neglecting me in the destructive hands of a father that would proceed to sexually molest me while he thought I was asleep at night. As a child, I used to have a repetitive dream of Mother, huge, wild blazing hair about on her head, looking at me miserably and disappointed in herself, then turning to me and saying, and waving goodbye and saying that we will meet on Paradise Earth. The religious concept of Paradise Earth, it served as my delusion of reprieve. Delusion of reprieve is something that you find in life, and there's many things that people find, that gives you something to hold on to. And for many people from all different walks of life, it's a different thing. For me, it was Paradise Earth. It gave me that sense of, okay, so there's something better that's going to come on earth, and all of this hurt and pain will go away. Delusion of reprieve. Every weekend when Mother managed to come visit, she would refresh it to my memory. Paradise Earth. Father was against the religion. I grew up in a split faith environment, so he would laugh, mock, and condemn us against their teachings all the time. The last shred of my innocence was robbed of me the day that he instructed me to go to bed and sleep without my underwear. So I'd just come in my nighties, a dress nightie. That's the day I forgot about being a little girl. All the magic and wonder just disappeared. The heist of my innocence was from that day forward. I started to build a fortress around my little heart, walls painted with sex, denial, deceit, and memories of undeserved punishment for no reason at all. The carelessness and shock of what was happening to me, being extremely afraid of Father's temper flares and physical violence towards Mother, silenced me. I mean, he was a boy. He was a boy, emotionally immature. I don't need to tell you about the unfit father he was to us all as his little girls. So he also had that, inadequacies about him going, that also rippled into everybody else's life. I mean, in businesses, he was just unreliable. Relationships, there weren't any, so yeah. I then Mother and father, what I feel is that they really laid the responsibility of a family unit on 7-year-old me, because then I had to maintain the balance, the peace, and I was only 7. Father was present enough to train me to obey him in the abuse so that I can maintain a bearable environment for the family. If I found a crumb of courage and demonstrated any refusal towards the sexual acts during the weeknights, There would be huge altercations with mother in the weekends, or my sisters or my cousins. There'd be beatings all around, and everybody just getting brutally punished, just screams of agony throughout the home, which he knew, terrified me further and traumatized me, which naturally increased my fear in him. And then the more and more silent I became about the molest. He was intimidating me through people that I cared for. So I had to submit when my turn came at night, because otherwise all of that might then be laid onto me. Okay, so I was darned if I speak up about the molest, but speak up to whom even? There was nobody there. Added to father always creating a fantasy setting, for example, changing the light bulbs to red while molesting me, so that it can create a fantasy as if I'm in a dream, depicting that he understood exactly what he was doing. He was conscious of his evil decisions to do that to his to a child. Never mind that I was blood, just to a child, if you can take it on that level. Darned even if I remained obedient to the abuse, because I was still getting emotionally and physically punished anyway, because I would get my turn of beatings, so always climbing out of that constant deep disappointment, which eroded my sense of morale and understanding. It stunted my holistic growth. I didn't know what's wrong and right, and what's punishable adequately and what's overboard anymore. It was such a tough environment. It muted my voice and instilled doubt that I could do anything at all. That I could do anything at all, that anybody cared about me, that I was, what purpose was I serving? This servant, sex slave, what? It just really broke my mental growth. Such a paralyzing spot for the young mind. Little Dineo, I still weep about your crushing. The crushing of Dineo, I still weep about it. Though it was a numbing, defeating, and a system designed to hollow me out, I remained the cheerful, delightfully spirited girl. I remained armed in that paradise was going to be the end of this ordeal. And since it can happen any day, it kept me looking forward to the next day. I began rescuing everyone as much as I could, friends, neighbors, anybody, just so I could feel valuable, vital to someone, something. Again, something which could have put me at risk with any other predators out there, because now I was happy to serve. It gave me a sense of usefulness, doing that anyways. My childhood best friend, Sibo, and we would laugh and play all day, We still do a lot of laughing to this day. She's very dear to me. It took away the focus of the painful and sad environment I found myself in. I managed to remain secretly joyful, but smart enough to remain under the radar at home. And that's where reading the room comes from, especially with people that's been through childhood trauma. You then develop this ability to just read the room, because those are the cues you learn when you're young. You watch him as he comes through the door from work. How is he feeling? Is he irritated? Then you must go to your room because you just might get it. Is he too excited? Then you have to be excited too, but he just might pinch you for nothing. For nothing.
or just start scolding at you after he goes to the loo because something changed his mind there. I don't know. Just so unpredictable. Um, so it's a trauma response that you get from unpredictable caregivers, parents. That works. So I managed to remain under the radar at home, however way I could, so that I can hold on to my sanity. And that's an element of self-preservation because I had to I had to push through it. I had to climb out of the molesting environment that's so unnurturing. I mean, completely. I mean, a household without the presence of a mother. So unnecessary. I'm talking about, you know, lunch to go to school, homework, a hug, you know, and then you're just there, just this child in the house, getting none of that, actually getting the worst end of it. Yeah. So self-preservation was actually through the laugh and play that I did with my friend. And it really kept my sanity. It did. Never inciting anything that could knock the balance in the house into hostility. What a ginormous undertaking. I mean, which 7, 8, under 10, which under 10-year-old child out there could be trusted with such a huge undertaking? Really, it's ginormous. Yeah. Okay, I was aligning with my fate. As I presented and kept revealing, as it presented and kept revealing itself to me. All the while, I was also burying the events until a time when I was ready to confront them. As I built the walls through the abuse, and decided to keep on keeping on. I didn't, take to the streets and really become a hobo out there. And then, yeah, now there would be no, no trace of me. I knew that I have to stick this out because one day, this is one thing I knew for sure. One day, I'm going to be ready. Adult life made me aware of how much I had endured and survived. I decided to chase my personal healing as a matter of importance. The day I went to therapy, I knew it was this, letting it out there, or continuous pain, continuous questions, and, no sense of what is what's real, what's not, what's just this whirl of misery, and feelings when I go home for the weekend and I see people and how come I feel like this, and this just overwhelming emotions. I knew I had to unpack that. It's important. I took to therapy to repackage the mental damage and restore the self-worth and dignity inside me, because that's what trauma does. That's what abuse, when you're this young, does. Your mind can't comprehend. It breaks your mind. It breaks your mind because your mind doesn't know what this is. I investigated my inner gifts and found a girl who wants to use their learnings of their messy childhood to anchor those going through their own hard times. This is what I'm doing here. I aspire to be the sister I always needed to stand up for me, the loving mother I was deprived of, and one that doesn't neglect me and abandon the care a child needs. The father who didn't deserve me as his daughter, I devote my life and give praise to the Spirit of the living God, which sheltered and protected me in all walks of my vivid life. Wow. Succumbing to restrictions and threatening powers as an adult is shackling to the pursuit of your freedom. Okay, that counterattack the imprisonment of one's freedom. I needed to risk the chance to bloom. Okay, much like the transformation process of a butterfly, uncomfortable yet necessary in the quest for personal life meaning. The mental and attitudinal shifts start kicking in, and the value system is rediscovered. The previous patterns are modified and the vicious cycle starts to run out of steam. That's a true story. That's therapy, years of self-work, affirmations, books, videos, masterclasses. It will get you there. It will turn the vicious cycle off. I promise you that. Okay. I began to feel humane. I began to feel human. The inner work never stops, reestablishing my self-concept and keeping the positive patterns consistent. I think like any other person, again, from all walks of life, we need this as people. There's all of other negativities in the world, so when you then reinforce with personal affirmations, positive self-talk, you keep your spirits up, and then there's no longer a way for you to turn back and start looking at all the hurts, which is just, it's defeating. There's no use in doing that. I advise you to seek replacement habits when your mind starts wandering in that direction. It's normal, it happens, and with practice you can teach your brain to think and refocus onto more constructive and positive things. Okay. Moral rebirth has equipped me with tools to discern areas where I would have previously been naive to. I still make mistakes, but way less now. Way less mistakes, from, in comparison to the time when I was completely naive, just, at the mercy of this world. I still make mistakes, but nobody's counting. As well, huh? Alright, no one can relieve me of my suffering. Same for you. Only you can do your own work, like Iyanla Vanzant likes to say. Do the work. Do the work. It's worth it. I am accepting that my suffering was an allocation of a much more important task. There is no one else that can do the task in the way that I can. Hence, my opportunity is in how I carry out the mission to make it a victory. Bravely, courageously, and tenaciously, I am molding into the best version of the role I am destined to fulfill. I weep at times. Tears are a celebration of sacred melodies deep in my heart. Crying confirms that I am breaking down the hard walls and allowing myself to be fearlessly soft, gentle, and vulnerable on my journey to triumph. Now I understand the why. Why me? Why was I the molested one? If anybody else was, why aren't they saying anything? But you know what? That bravery, that grace only came through me. It manifested through me. And I accept that. I accept that as my mission from God above in the heavens. That it was me. I was the chosen one to come and do this, to come and take a chance at inspiring you to keep going. That's why it had to happen to me. So I have paid the price. I have paid the price. I don't want anyone else to go through that. No. And if you are, it's okay. We can make it through. I have, you can too. we can together, the confluence of us. I learned recently that alone you're a movement, but together we are a force. So let's do this. All right, so that's about really where the assignment ends. The rest is just a summary of my feedback and my take on logotherapy and deductions and conclusions I had about my journey with logotherapy. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen. I hope that was inspiring. Go about your day, think, and come back, ask questions. I am happy to answer, and I promise you my loyalty and honesty. Lots of love. Raw. Until your lotus floats in peace. Thank you.